Hi, welcome back. In this tutorial we're going to review how to enter formulas in Excel. And formulas are what makes Excel so powerful. It's what lets us manage and manipulate large amounts of data. So let's get started. In order to indicate to Excel that it is to perform a function or calculate a formula, you need to start with the equal sign. So if we're going to actually type a formula in, we just put equals first, and then we can say, let's say I want to add up these two numbers. So this is in cell E2, so I could say E2 plus, looks like E3, E3. And there you go, it's added up to 73 and 58 and gotten 131. Now there's an easier way to do that. Let me delete it. I could put in an equal sign, click on the first cell, and that will put in the number, add the plus sign, click on the last cell. And there you go. I've got my 131 again. Let's see what the temperature range for the day is. Equals 73 minus 58. Okay, so there's a 15-degree spread. Okay, let's try something ridiculous. 73 times, and that's the asterisk that is the times, 58, or equals 73 divided by 58. Okay, so your basic functions are there. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. If I wanted to add up all of the numbers, let's say I wanted to add up all the high temperatures so I could find an average high temperature, I could type in equals sum. Sum is a function, and you can see that it's going to make suggestions as to some of the functions that it has. Now I can do one of two things. I can either click that, double click this, and that's going to put that opening parenthesis in there. Then I can select what I want to sum and hit enter, and it will do that for me. Or you can type the parenthesis, the opening parenthesis yourself, and it will work very much the same way. Now I thought I wanted an average. So I really do want an average of these. These are the same number, but I know that I have 7 days in the week, so the easiest way to do that would be to take this sum and divide it by 7. And the average temperature is 68.42 degrees. Okay, so you can just get into this formula bar to adjust your adjust formulas and make more complex formulas, etc. Now let's say that I wanted the average temperature, high temperature, for just for the weekend. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add them together like this. Let's see what happens first. Okay, 126. And I could have used the sum function. Even though there's only two numbers, I could have summed them. That wouldn't have been a problem at all. But let's say that I didn't. I just added them. I used the addition sign. And now I want to divide those by 2. And somehow I'm getting an average temperature of 95 degrees when the highest temperature was 65. And of course the reason is order of operations. What it's doing is it's taking this 61 and dividing it by 2, because that's in the H2 cell, and then it's adding the 65 to it. So just remember that just like any type of math, you have an order of operations, and you may need to use parentheses to indicate that something needs to go first, because that's the highest order. So by putting it in parentheses, now it's going to add those together before it divides, and now I'm going to get my average of 63. Now let's visit this one button up here called AutoSum. So I'm going to click at the end of the row here. Let's do this. I'm just going to write the word total there. Then I'm going to click on AutoSum, And notice it completed the formula for me, guessing at which pieces of data I wanted to use. Now, because data like this is often in a grid, it's often in a block, Excel is very good at guessing at the data you want to use. If it was not the case, if I just wanted to do the sum of the weekdays, I could just reselect over here and that wouldn't be a problem. But let's say that I want a sum of the whole thing. Okay, so I'm back. Let me delete this. I'm back to my 479. A nice thing is that I won't have to type a formula in every time. If I click on this and grab the little box in the corner and drag it down, you'll notice that by default this formula gets incremented. So in other words, here it's B2H2. By pulling it down, it's B3H3. And if I pulled it down further, it's going to be 0, but it would be B4H4. So it increments by the rows. Not that this will make sense right now, but just to show the point, if I drag to the right, it's going to increment by the columns. So now instead of starting at B, because I dragged it over one, it starts at C and it goes all the way to I. So it's really adding this Tuesday and the total, which is why the number is so inappropriate. Let's try doing an average temperature for the day here. Well, to do an average temperature here, maybe we'll add the high and the low and we'll divide by 2. So we can use the AutoSum again if we want. But then I'm just going to get into there and divide by 2. The AutoSum did check B2 and B3. Now we're going to divide by 2. So the average temperature for the day was 57. I don't know if that makes sense. When I drag across, notice it's now doing column C, column D, column E because I dragged it this way. Now a little trick for you. I've built this and perhaps I want the format to carry through, and now I have to come in here and put borders on this, and I have to put a border and gray on this. But the quick way to do that is simply to click on one of the cells that has the formatting you want, and then click Format Painter and click the cell that you want. Now that's not limited to a single cell. I could take this entire row, Format Painter, and do the same row down here and it would be the same. I'll take that column, Format Painter, and do that. So that's a really nice tool. The other thing I can do, let me turn my instructions here red. If I want to make every other instruction red, I could double click the Format Painter and now it will stay on until I hit the escape key. So now I can skip over and select the things that I want. And if I had added more complex formatting, I bold and italicize that and I give it a background color of green and I double click, I can pass all that formatting onto any cell that I want. And to clear it, I'm going to hit Escape. Now here, I'll take the unformatted piece and set everything back. Before we go any further, I'd like to call your attention to something in one of these formulas. We know we use the sum formula and we know that this is adding a series of numbers, but look at how Excel designates which numbers to use. B2, which is here, to H2, which is here. And to say that it wants the entire range, those two, the beginning and ending points, are separated with a colon. So if I could actually make that H3 if I wanted. Wouldn't make sense in this circumstance. But now notice the blue box around here. It's now going to take that entire block of data, the highs and the lows, and give me a much higher number. But I can go back and edit that back to 2, or I could have grabbed that blue. Let me show you that way actually. Once it's selected, I could actually grab that corner and do that if you prefer. I prefer to work with the numbers, but you may want to do it another way. Okay, let's add 2 more fields, max and min. Now, I think it's going to be best if we use our format painter. We'll move this out of the way. Okay, Excel comes with a whole large series of built-in formulas to save you the time of actually creating formulas. So let's take a look at how to put those in now. I'm going to come to the max column here, and I'm going to hit this function key, and that will bring up an insert function box. Now, I can type in here to search for a function if I have any idea what the name might be, or I can pick by category, all functions right now. This is actually most recently used right now. If I do all, I'm going to get a long scrolling list of everything. That's kind of hard to look through. Most recently used as a default, and that's going to show me a handful of things, but if I'm going back and forth and using things regularly, that's very convenient. I can also look for financial, date and time functions, math, statistical, lookup and reference, database, text functions, which are surprisingly useful, logical, information, and engineering. Okay, and if I see them down here, I can pick them. But I don't see what I want down here, so I'm going to try to see if there's a maximum function. Oh, there's one. Max. Now, all sorts of things, dmax, max, max a, so it takes a little bit of time to get used to what these things do, but conveniently, if you click here, it's going to give you a description. Returns the largest number in a field, column of records in a database, that matches the conditions you specify. Well, I don't need to specify any, I just want the maximum number. So that might be this is simpler. Returns the largest value in a set of values. And it ignores logical values in text, so that's great. So I can select everything and it would ignore this word high because that's text. Now if I want additional help on this function, there's a link down here, and this is extremely useful. The help here is actually very, very good. It gives examples, so don't ever hesitate to use that. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. It inserts max, and it guesses at my range. Now it's guessing that it wants B2 to I2, but that's not correct because I really only want B2 to H2. Now I could edit this directly, or I can simply click in here, slide across, it'll make the adjustment. And if I hit OK, I will get my maximum value. Now I can drag that down. The formula incremented for row, so I now have the maximum of the low temperatures. Let's try that once again with min. So we go to function. I can search for minimum. It's actually here, but I can search for minimum. When I find the one I want, I say OK. In this case, I guess because of where I was selected, it didn't really figure it out, so I'm going to select my values. Now notice there's this number 2. What that's for, if I clicked in that box, is if I wanted to select non-adjacent rows. So if I wanted to select down here as well, I could do it with 2 ranges of data simultaneously. And you can see what it did is it put both ranges in but separated by a comma. So I can just take that out to fix it, put us back where we were, and dragging that down completes the formula. Okay, lots and lots of useful formulas in there. Please remember to use that help menu if you get stuck, because as I said, it's very useful.